There's the bell, and that means we're in session. Welcome to SC Charter Chatter, the only podcast dedicated to South Carolina charter schools. I'm your host, Kevin. Thank you for joining us. We are presented by the Public Charter School Alliance of South Carolina. I'm excited about today's show. We're going to continue the celebration from Charter Schools Week. This is the time of the year where we celebrate a lot of things like graduation, wrapping up the school year, and for many, looking forward to that much-needed summer break, especially this school year. We have a great conversation with the principal of Calhoun Falls Charter School, Mr. Kalan Rogers, and his story is unique, inspiring, and quite interesting. And he was also recently recognized by the National Public Charter School Alliance as a 30 under 30 Changemaker. So we'll talk about what that means to him, how he stays motivated, and what it's like to be the principal of his alma mater. But before we get to our guest, make sure you are registered for this year's Leadership Summit. It's going to be July 20th and 21st at the Columbia Metropolitan Convention Center. It's a time to connect, engage, and discover with other charter school leaders, educators, and advocates. We have some great speakers and presenters lined up. You can register at scharterschools.org. Click the link right there on the homepage. Okay, let's get to it. Principal of Calhoun Falls Charter School, Mr. Kalan Rogers. Kalan, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, glad to be on and be able to talk with you today.
All right, Kalan, before we get too far into this, you have a very unique story in that you actually graduated from Calhoun Falls, and now you've returned as the school principal, the school leader. So tell me about that first day walking in as the principal.
That was crazy. Think about it. At the age of 24, coming fresh out of 2 years of teaching PE, and you walk into, the school you went to, and it's like, okay, everything is in your hand now. You have to make decisions, and nobody else make decisions but you now. And, you don't have to ask any questions because you make the decisions. And it gets crazy. So I'm sitting at this desk, and I'm looking like, okay, what do I do? There is no rubric when you take a job to say, all right, this is the first thing you do. I think I just remember just sitting here like, okay, it is quiet, nobody here. So I'm just going to sit here and look and just think about what I'm supposed to do. And then I realized that I needed to send an email to the whole staff. And so that was one of the first things I did when I got here. Just shot an email and say, hey, this is me. What's been good, what's been bad, and what can we work on? And
right.
I appreciate your feedback. And I just remember that first day, I was just needed a rubric,
right,
to get through it.
I guess after you send that first email, you're just off and running at that point.
Yeah. Once I sent that first email, I started to get feedback in, and I just went off and was like, okay, all right, I need to do this. I need to do this, work on this. All right, let me get life together for the first 5 days of school, PowerPoints, and then you have the meeting down there in Columbia with the Charter School Alliance. And honestly, I didn't know what that was about. I was just going because Carol all sent me an email and was like, hey, it'll be great for you to attend. And, so
That's amazing. That is amazing. So when you started as the principal there, were there faculty there? Were there teachers and others who were there when you were a student that were still there?
Oh, yes. So the assistant principal, Lori Lindland, she was my assistant principal when I was in school. The math teacher, Mr. Wonga, he was there, and Miss McCannon was there when I was in school. And I just remember, and I tell Mr. Wonga this all the time, Mr. Wonga was the first person to take my cell phone at school. I said, Mr. Wonga, now it is payback.
Uh-oh. Wow. That is a really cool story. We're gonna go into that a little bit more throughout our conversation, but I wanted to just get that right off the top. Let our listeners know the unique situation you're in, and it's really cool you're down there. And we're going to go into more about Calhoun Falls Charter School, the unique story that it has, the unique story that you have, and how you're serving that community. Well, Kalan, the National Alliance recently named 30 people from across the country as changemakers in the charter school world, people who are using their platform to affect change. That list includes students, national advocates, professional athletes. So an incredible list, including yourself. So when you got that call from Carol to let you know that you had been not only nominated, but that the National Alliance had selected you, what was going through your head at that time?
It was spring break, and I was here at track practice, and I was getting ready to prepare, and I got the call, and I just remember dropping my mouth and was like, "Oh my gosh, are you serious?" And she was like, "Yes, Kalan, we nominated you, and you got accepted." And I was like, "This is crazy, national."
Yeah.
I see, if it was like, "Hey, South Carolina," but this is national, and I was just, oh God, I was very grateful for it, and very thankful that the Alliance nominated me.
And you were a part of even more selected group to participate live in the award ceremony that the National Alliance did. I thought that was really cool too.
Yeah. They asked, "Hey, we love your story. Would you be able to share a little bit more about it when we have our online show?" And I was like, "Yes, sure." We had our show, and it was great. I tell you, I enjoyed it. I laughed. Debbie was very funny, and she was mind blown by a lot of the things. But I just really I wanted people to to see what we're doing here, because sometimes we're kind of in our own area, and too many people don't know what's going on. So I really wanted people to know this is what's going on here, and this is all that I do. I don't just sit around and micromanage or sit around because I'm a servant leader. I help all and do whatever I ask for my family to do.
Congratulations on that accomplishment. And we couldn't think of a more deserving person, Kalan, than you. So congrats on that. Well-deserved, earned, and congratulations. So I want to give a little background about Calhoun Falls Charter School. It was originally a traditional public school under the Abbeville County School District, and it was going to close. And the community there in Calhoun Falls said, "No, we do not want our school to close." And they worked to create what is now Calhoun Falls Charter School,
yes.
which serves middle and high school students. So tell us about that connection with the community there.
So I was in 8th grade when this happened. And I remember at a basketball game, I think we was playing West Shows, and I was out in the foyer, and that's when we got a call. Well, somebody got a call from somebody that was at the board meeting. It was like Calhoun Falls is going to close, and I just remember tears just start falling at that game for everybody. And after that, we didn't know what we was going to do. It was like, okay, now we have to go to the school that's about 20 miles away. All of our students, and so the community was like, "No, we're not going to let that happen." And we've had some great community members to go out and say, "All right, let me research." I think a lot of them looked at kind of the Jonesville, Lockhart area to see, what was going on, and what was, when Union County closed the schools up there, what did y'all do, or what efforts did y'all make? And the community members found some information, and it's like, "Hey, we can get a charter school here." And they did the back end of the work. I mean, the steering committee work, and they put all this together from, when we found out in December. And then next thing you know, in August, we're getting ready to open doors. So that was a quick turnaround,
Yes.
Real quick. Now you got to have all the necessary steps and paperwork. And,
right.
It takes about 2 to 3 years. But, this community did it within, 5 or 6 months and opened up a school. And it was, of course, we had all a few bumps and bruises. But,
sure.
I mean, for us to still be functioning to this day, it's amazing.
That was 2008. In August of 2008, when the charter school opened there, after being shut down in December of 2007. So, yeah, I think that turnaround is an amazing story in itself, that they pushed through and were able to do that. So, you could continue. And it opened up in the same building, in the same location. So fast forward to 2021, you're the school leader there. So under your leadership there at Calhoun Falls Charter, the school has been recognized for its accomplishments and its achievements. What has been the key to success in your mind?
For me, and a lot of people may think different, but I think keeping your staff happy. If you
Sure.
keep them happy, you be that servant leader, they will produce things for you. And if you go over and beyond for them, you know, they'll do the um, they'll do the necessary things for you. And they take that down, and it leads into the classroom. And so, you know, I I pride myself in going over and beyond for the staff. Little things that matter. It's all not always about money. Little things that matter is, hey, a teacher work day. You can work from home. Or hey, here's a T-shirt. Here's a little gift for this. Or hey, for your Christmas gift, you can have half of the day off, and I will watch your class for you while you go shop and go home, sleep, do whatever you want to do. And so those little things like that definitely keeps the happy staff, which correlates down to the students. And then it's like, okay, so now we're all happy. I'm getting what I want. They're getting what they want. So it definitely works for me.
So the history that we just mentioned there in that community of Calhoun Falls and the way the school transformed into a charter school there, do you think that history you have and how the school came to be, does that help you connect with the students that you have and the families that you have?
Yeah, I think, just honestly being from here, it helps, me connect a lot. I understand, I know, crazy thing is, my first group of seniors, I actually taught them in a teacher cadet lesson during their fourth grade year, during I think I had teacher cadet my junior year. Yeah, my junior year. So my first group of seniors that graduated, I actually taught them a lesson in teacher cadet their fourth grade year. And it's crazy,
It's
right?
wild, man. I'm telling you, the story just keeps getting better and better.
And so, all the kids here, I remember when I was a student here, um, even to my first group of seniors graduating, one of them, we lived right by each other, and I used to go jump on the trampoline with her when I was younger. So, I literally know them. And I was just telling a student of mine yesterday, and he was talking to me, and he was like, I said, well, do I need to tell your grandmother? And he was like, how do you know my grandmother? I was like, son, I'm from here. I know everybody. And I was like, I even remember when you were born. I said, now I was in middle school, but I remember that day you were born. And he was like, really? I was like, yes, sir, I do remember. And so it gets a little crazy. It gets a little crazy. But I just think being from here, it just helps me just make that direct contact already.
I couldn't agree more. I think that connection, there's a lot to education. There's a lot of components that come together to educate a child. But I think that connection is so important. And you have it built in almost, that connection with those students, those families, and even the staff members there, the faculty and teachers. You have that connection built in. So as the award indicates, you're under 30 years old, very young. I'd say probably one of the youngest school principals across the state. But do you think your age is an advantage or a disadvantage for you? Does it allows you to connect better with students maybe, but is it a challenge with maybe your staff?
At first, when you get the message, and you can put yourself in there, and I put myself in the shoes too. You get a message, and it says, hey, we have named Kalan Rogers as your principal. He's 24 years old, and he's only had 2 years of teaching experience. Okay, you get that email. you say, what in the world Calhoun Falls Charter School is doing? Because in my mind, I would think the same thing. I'm like, why would they have somebody young, inexperienced, to come in and run a school? You know, that would be my first instinct when I think about it. And I understand. I tell everybody, I say, you know, I completely understand how you feel. Like, I understand. So,
You see it,
so
right.
in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, as you think as the board, okay, we need somebody to come in that knows our kids and somebody that, have that youthfulness to them that will
Mm-hmm.
bring a little bit more, I guess, a good vibe to the school. And so you have to look at it both ways. At first, it was a little kind of discerning because, I got teachers that have been teaching longer than I've been living here. And so, it's like, oh crap. But about a month or two in, with great support from, my assistant principal, Miss Lillich, she's been on this campus for over 20 years. And so great support from her. And then, my willingness to just learn the job, the support
Mm-hmm.
came like automatic. Like, okay, he actually knows what he's doing and we're not, finna just go down the stream. He's actually keeping us afloat and he's doing a good job. So it came within a month. And people thought, well, how do you do it? How do you do it? How are you still in it? You didn't have no
Mm-hmm.
assistant principal job. You just came straight from teaching the principal. And I think what keeps me going is one, the kids. Oh man, I love these kids. I love them like they're my own. I do anything for them. And two, my thing that I love to do, I love to prove people wrong. Um, you know, being the first has not just, being the first is nothing new. I was the, first, bus driver here to drive while still in a senior year in school. So I was driving the school bus while I was a senior in high school. So, I'm doing that. And then I am going to college, being the first going to college. So as, just being this young person, it really never fazed me. It's like, I just love to prove people wrong to let you know that, my age has nothing to do with it. It's all about your drive and all about your wisdom and your ability to learn new things and to get it right. Cause I'm a quick learner. Once I learn it, I'm good to go. And so that has played a huge part in my life.
Well, I think you've proved a few people wrong, and I think that you're probably going to prove a few more people wrong down the road. So like I say, this story is unique in itself, and it just keeps getting better and better. So, Kalan, charter schools, they're unique. They operate as independent schools, and that means a lot of times that a lot of people wear a lot of different hats. Not only are you the principal there, but you're also the cross-country coach, the track and field coach, and you drive a morning bus route every day. What keeps you motivated and energized to do these things?
It's doing what I love. It is absolutely doing what I love. I love coaching track and field. I've been coaching track and field since I was, since 2016. I started at Boiling Springs High School, and then driving a bus. Oh, listen, Kevin, that was a lifelong dream. Ever since I was in kindergarten, I would always be the one to sit at the front of the bus. And I said, as soon as I turn 18, I'm going to get my CDLs. And
And you
luckily,
did.
I did. I got them. And then that was my job throughout college. I drove a bus while I was in college. And then when I went to teach at Union, I drove a morning and afternoon route, and I coached also. So it's doing things that I love. So I'm not like, oh gosh, I got to do this. It's like, all right, get up, let's go ahead and do it. And so, I always tell everybody, they say, I think track season is the most I ever seen you smile. You smile, regular day, but you have a little bit more when it's track season. I'm like, yes, because it gives me that adrenaline. It's doing something that I really, really, really love. So it's not work for me. It's just love.
It's not work when you love it that much. It's just part of who you are. So I saw a recent tweet from you, and it said, get you a principal that can do it all. And I think you are a prime example of that. Can you explain that tweet a little bit?
Yeah, so I was sitting on the bus, and funny story about this. I have so many funny stories, and to me, it's funny. It's kind of like lame to other people, but I was just on the bus, and the sun was just shining like perfect. I was just sitting there, and it was shining perfect on my face, and I was like, "Oh, this would be a great time to get a good picture of me," you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just snapped the picture. I was like, "Oh, I like that picture," and so I get ready to upload it to Twitter, and I was like, "Okay, I need a caption. I need a cool, really cool, dope caption."
Right.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to put some clout on my name because I think I deserve it. So I was like, get you a principal that can do it all. Because I feel like, I do a lot, but it don't, I don't go out and say, okay, I do this, I do this. I just let people see my work. And,
Yeah.
um, I'm just want to let everybody know I'm just not that principal that just that comes in his office and then walk down the hallway. I'm a principal that do it all. And, it's like, hey, hey, can we make other principals step up a little bit to, do extra things? So, yeah.
Well, lead by example. You certainly do that. So I like your Twitter page. I do follow you, Mr. Coach Rogers at Rogers Kalan. If you want to give him a follow,
Please follow me.
I also saw a recent professional development that you presented to your staff, and you asked them, what does it mean to have heart? The heart in education. So I want to ask you, Kalan, what do you think it means to have heart in education?
So yeah, that PD, I called it the grind, the hustle, and the heart,
Mm-hmm.
and it actually derived from my track team. We had a little off day, one afternoon, and it didn't sit well with me, and so I never had an experience like that a day in my life. So, and I thought about it all night, and so I said, let me come up, let's take the track team and put them in a professional development. And that's what I named. And so I decided that, okay, I can take this from track and take it into the classroom. And so, we talked about the grind, the hustle, and then the heart. And I think in education is really having the love for what you do. And it's also saying, if I have the love for what I do, I can continue doing it. Even though there might be some obstacles or some bumps in the road, I'm still going to do my job to the best of my capability. You know, what am I doing that in education that I love? Like I said, that keeps the heart pumping, that keeps it flowing. What are those things that I really enjoy doing? And you look back on those, few things that you love doing, it gives you a new outlook on life. It makes you think about it. Okay, well, maybe I can take the bumps and bruises that's coming, but I can overcome it because it's because of what I love. It's because this is what I do. And this is, if your end goal is, to see your children to succeed, and this is why you're in education, you have the heart for that, then your mind should constantly, every time something comes up, it should constantly be, all right, it's for my kids, it's for my students. And I know in education, we're going through a tough time right now. And I always would tell people just, hey, just remember the grind. Just remember the hustle. Just remember having that heart. Because once you find that heart, oh gosh, heart will beat any competition, no matter what. Because the person that has the heart at the end of the day, they're going to push forward and push through while others just sit back, lag, and complain.
I can tell through this conversation, you're the kind of person, when you talk to your staff, when your staff and your teachers and everybody at that school look at you, they know that you're the kind of person that will run through a wall for them. You will do whatever it takes for them to make sure that they succeed. I think you're an example for a lot of folks around our state in education, for charter school leaders, for teachers, for anybody. And it's all to help them succeed. So you mentioned it just a few minutes ago. It's been a tough year in education for a lot of people, but especially in those classrooms, it's been a tough year. And this is the time of year when teachers are worn down, worn out. They're thinking about looking at other careers maybe. How do you continue to motivate good teachers to stay in education?
Well, and so, when somebody is ready to leave or ready to just say, hey, I'm done,
Mm-hmm.
I always ask, what's your reason why? If it's something health wise or, hey, my family here, I don't intervene because I love somebody with good health. And, if you want to work on your health, that's fine. And then family, I completely understand. I do not get in the way of nobody's family because I love family and whatnot.
Sure.
But if it's just like minor little things, I like to have that conversation. What am I doing wrong or what are we doing wrong? Or, what possibly can it be or what can I help you out with before, we make that we make that transition outside, whether you're going to another school district or whether you're going, just to another profession. I would love to help out. And I tell them all the time, hey, I am not mad at you. We can sit here and have a conversation. I'm going to love you the same way you did when you walked in for an interview. I won't look at you no different. So let's just lay it all out on the table. And I stay completely honest with my staff. And if there's something that they don't like, they tell me. And I was like, hey, I'm sorry, but that's something I can work on or something that we can do better. And in a time, um, in a time like this, I just think that, you know, we don't need to take to social media. And I say that just because that's where everybody in their frustration goes. And then they make things a little bit worse
Hmm.
than what it's supposed to be. Um, you know, I wear several different hats here at the school. But how many times on Twitter have you seen me complain about being the finance coordinator, being a depth coordinator, doing, payroll and trying to maintain the school budget, dealing with my board? How many times have you saw I complain about any of anything that I do at the school?
None.
Never. I never complained. And I believe if I did, I would start to get a group in, and then they was like, well, you need to leave or you need to do this. And that's not what I want. And so I'm not trying to go on a tangent with it, but I just think that it's just, I think you handle stuff inside and you speak to the person inside instead of going outside. And if it's not fixed, then maybe it's time to just move on and not be in a point to where you're making kids' life a little bit miserable. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. We're here for the kids.
Wise words, good advice. So let's broaden that just a little bit here. And as a charter school, what do you think your biggest challenge is?
One, our enrollment, we're a community school. We basically, the kids that come from the traditional elementary school comes to our school. Most of them, probably about 80, 85% of the students. Ours, for charter schools for us is kind of enrollment wise, and salary. That's huge because if you don't have the numbers, you really can't pay, what the traditional district is paying over. And then just having that, if we had those local tax dollars coming in, I think life would be so much better. We're doing well now, but we can do better, if we was treated the same. Um, excuse me. It's just charter schools is just having your own brand and filling out your own brand. And also having that person that understands your school and your community, because we're all different, but just having that person in there that understands. And I think if I go somewhere else, I don't, I feel like I probably could do a good job, but I don't think I can do a better job than what I'm doing here because I understand what goes on in this town and what goes on in this school.
And I think that's so important for, like you said, your community school. You're a part of that community. You've been a part of that community, and you're woven into that fabric. You get it. You understand it. So I think that's an important piece to what you bring to that community and what you bring to Calhoun Falls Charter. This year in South Carolina, we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of Charter Schools Act, and we've come a long way in 25 years. But what do you think the future holds for charter schools in South Carolina? And what would you like to see in terms of charter schools for the future?
Yeah, so I definitely see growth. I see growth, whether it's virtual or brick and mortar. I would like to see, and I know we're different in everything we do, and this probably contradicts everything I'm about to say. But I would love to see just unification across the board. And when I say that, um, I would love to see more of, you know, we're different because we get to hire who we want to hire, but I would love to see more of educated people. And I'm not saying people are not educated, more people dealing with education inside of, as school leaders. Or if, we have a school gets a new school leader, you know, maybe instead of, I know we have the principal induction that the state of South Carolina do, but maybe as a charter school, if they get a new school leader that has never been in education, or first year as a school leader like me, maybe have that whole support thing for both of the authorizers, where you say, all right, we can meet and talk about this and talk about that, because everybody's going to go through that struggle in life. And when I was in PIP, there was only one charter school principal in my program with me, and me and her, when I tell you,
Mm-hmm.
we went through it together, because we knew exactly what we were going through. The other traditional principals, They didn't know. And it's funny story here. The lady, I actually coached her daughter in basketball at Union. So I actually knew her. And so, we had a different connection, but then also we had this connection as school leaders to where we tag team with each other and give a call. Because sometimes, I'm a guy that I don't want to feel like I'm bothering somebody. So, I know that this is say call them, but I don't want to be a bother. Like, hey, I'm just gonna, try to figure it out, or contact, somebody in my neck of the woods to figure it out. But I definitely would love to see that. And as in for school growth, I just think that charter schools, they should, as you get ready to move into, creating one and maintaining one, I just think that there should be a plan of what type of person you're seeking for to lead the school, and how long you want them there. And because of course there's a lot of turnover in the charter school world for school leaders, because I just think people don't understand that you're that district office. You have to pay the bills, and you have to maintain your budget. The school district the authorizer is not going to give you a budget and say, all right, I allocated this for this and this for this, and you have to do it. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused and say, okay, it's not traditional, so I'm gonna leave because I don't know how to do this. And what I see, another thing that I see that I wish that can happen, just in general, this is nationally. People will say, well, how is it working for a charter school? And you get different responses. And some responses, I'm like, oh my gosh. It's like, oh, it's horrible. Don't go. They don't know how to run. It's this and this. And then you got other people like, oh, it's the best decision I ever made, leaving a traditional school and going to the charter school, this and that. And it's totally two different responses. And I wish it can just be unified across the board of saying, hey, here's your pros, here's your cons, instead of like, oh, it's horrible, don't ever do it, to somebody's like, oh, yes, you should do it. It is absolutely amazing.
Well, it's challenging work. There's no doubt about that. They're individual schools, they're independent schools, and that means there are lots of challenges, and there are different ways to run them, and they're run differently all across our state, all across our country. So I applaud you for the work that you're doing there at Calhoun Falls. I have one other question as we wrap this up. I noticed your motto to Calhoun Falls Charter is honor is earned, not deserved. And I feel like that motto fits you.
Yeah, I would agree, definitely. Because at the end of the day, you have to earn it. Nobody's giving it to you. And I tell you the truth. I think it's been the motto, but if I had to think about who would create something like that, I would have to say my assistant principal, Miss Lindler, because when I tell you, she know, like, our kids, oh gosh, she know they can do the work. We just don't give you whatever it is. Well, you have to earn and earn whatever we're giving you, because in life, you're always not going to get it handed to you. You're going to have to work for what you want and what you want to get out of life. And she constantly stresses that all day, every day. And, our job at the end of the day is to empower, inspire, and to educate every student that walks in this building. If we do those three things, and we do it to the best of our ability, the kids that graduate from here will be well prepared for the future and for life after school.
Well, Kalan, I can say that you have earned this award, 30 Under 30 Changemakers, presented by the National Alliance of Charter Schools. And I can't think of another person that deserves this award. So congratulations. Great job you're doing down there at Calhoun Falls Charter. Go follow him on Twitter, Mr. Coach Rogers, at Rogers Kalan. You won't be disappointed. Kalan, thanks for joining us today. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Keep up the good work that you're doing in that community of Calhoun Falls and leading that school into just great things.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate this. That's my first podcast, which is amazing and great. And I feel like so energetic right now that I can go host a PD right now after this podcast, because you just got me like all wired up and good. And so I appreciate you for having me. And I would have to shout out, if I can shout out my track team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout them out real quick. We had a great finishing at the state on our boys' side. We took 9 participants down to the state meet, and we finished 3rd overall. So I got to shout them out. And then we took 4 girls down. We finished 14th overall, and that was just 3 8th graders and 1 sophomore. So the future is bright. And and I made it through. The semester, coaching, driving the bus, and all of that, and doing this whole principal thing, and I made it. So
absolutely, down there doing it all at Calhoun Falls. Getting it done in athletics, getting it done in the classroom. Thank you, Kalan, for joining us today and sharing your story. Congratulations on being named 30 under 30 Changemaker and being such an important part of the Calhoun Falls community. I look forward to talking with you again soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Well, that wraps up episode 8 of SC Charter Chatter, a really fun conversation with Kalan Rogers, principal of Calhoun Falls Charter School. Don't forget to register for our 2021 Leadership Summit, July 20th and 21st in Columbia. You can register at our website, scharterschools.org. As always, thank you for the support and for listening. Be sure and give us a like and follow us wherever you get your podcast from. We would also love to hear from you, so leave us a comment, or you can get in touch with us at podcast@scharterschools.org. Let us know if you have a topic or an idea for the show, or if you're interested in sponsoring an episode. You can email us at podcast@scharterschools.org. Like us on Facebook and Instagram at SC Charter Schools, on Twitter, SC Charter School, and remember to use the hashtag MyCharterSC. Until next time, I'm Kevin. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented on this podcast are for general information only, and no person should act or refrain from acting on the basis of the content of this podcast without first seeking appropriate professional advice. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the individuals and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Public Charter Schools Alliance of South Carolina, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any other entity they represent. Information and material in this episode will not be updated and may not be current. Please consult your own professional for any advice for your specific situation. To read the full disclaimer, go to scharterschools.org.